Welcome back to another video, and as you can probably see from the image, we are doing my sort of half a yearly eyeshadow palette declutter today. Unfortunately, I did actually already film sort of my cheek and lip product declutter. However, the footage is kind of problematic. My camera had a little bit of zooming issues. I did film it in a different place than I am currently at my apartment, so I am kind of considering that I'm not gonna post the cheek and lip product declutter because there was just so many issues. I do know we do have this occasionally with my camera that it kind of doesn't know where to focus, even though my looking camera is a relatively new model, but that's kind of what you get when you're filming on a sort of auto mode, and I think there might be a mode in my camera that would probably somehow film the some of the close-up shots a bit better, but I still haven't had time, even after a couple of years of filming YouTube, I still haven't gotten time to figure out how to solve some of the focusing issues my camera seems to have. But in terms of the eyeshadow palettes, we are going to be doing this as we always do per brand. Something that I didn't notice on my last declutter video, please don't ask me to send you used makeup. Most of the products I am gonna either declutter because they are getting on the older side, or I have used them but I don't feel that they are good enough quality. So please don't ask in the comments to send you any of the palettes that I'll be decluttering today. We do have quite a lot, so I think it is better to just get to the decluttering. And also, if I declutter something that is your favorite palette, that is absolutely fine. We all have our individual preferences. I am purely decluttering these in terms of how I prefer my makeup and how I think I will be using my palettes from here onward. And you will be seeing all the brands in the timestamps once I have gotten this video out and edited it. But let's get to the actual decluttering section. So let's start with probably some of the high-end ones. So first one, this is by McGrath. This is the Divine Rose 2, I think was the variation of this one. I can quickly just open these and show the palettes, and this was in the limited edition rose gold one, and you can see my camera over there. So here is how it is looking. This is getting a bit on the older side, but these are still good to go, so I'm definitely keeping these. Also, Pat McGrath no longer doesn't seem to do the bake shades, so I kind of feel that I'm also having maybe a product that you can't no longer get in this specific variation. They do now seem to have switched out to more traditional shimmers, but this is definitely staying. I don't think I'm gonna be decluttering any of the mothership. This one was the Utopian Dream, and again I can open this one up and show how it is looking. So, are we? No, it's on that side. So this was the more sort of a peachy. I do prefer using this usually during springtime, but this was a more of a peachy that has a bit of a pop of lilac over here, and then some this particular shade is one of my favorites, I think, from this palette. And then the original Divine Rose 1, the packaging has suffered some damage. This for some reason, even though it is, I always say that my favorite is the Divine Rose 2 because it's a more pink heavy, but actually in terms of use, the Divine Rose 1 is actually a palette that I do use more. So this is how it is looking, and this is also not going anywhere. Then let's get to some of the smaller luxury brand palettes. So this is the Chanel Lumiere Graphique. This was their holiday palette from a couple of years ago. Very nice, sort of cool tone neutral palette. I do like to use this during the winter time. This is definitely not going anywhere. Then something that I got when I was traveling Ireland during last year. So this is the Love Story Wedding palette from Sculpted by Aimee. So the Sculpted by Aimee, I believe it's a Irish-based makeup owner brand, and this is basically a all-over face palette. This has been pretty convenient for traveling purposes, so this is also not going anywhere. Then the YSL Holiday Quad from last Christmas. This was the sort of golden neutral one. I am keeping this one. I would say that if you're eyeing these YSL quads, maybe buy one and see how you like the formula. It is definitely a very nice high-end formula, but considering that these are also quite expensive, you definitely need to prefer this kind of a higher-end formula if you want to pay the price that these go for eyeshadows. Then my Dior ones. So this is the Holiday Quint from last year, a very rosy one. I always think I say that this is more of a Valentine's palette for me, but you can obviously wear this around the year. But this was quite of this sort of rosy pink leaning palette from them. They did have another one in the series last Christmas that was more lilac leaning, but I chose that one that is a bit more rosy. And then my backstage palette, I'm just gonna actually show these. These are not definitely going anywhere. So I have 3 of these one. This is definitely my absolute favorite. This is the infamous, what was this one called? Silver Essentials. I think this is still one of the best quality in terms of backstage palette Dior has done. This was their holiday palette from last year, and this is their summer palette from last year. Curious thing, I did see some leaks that Dior was supposed to be coming out with a new backstage palette, but so far I haven't at least seen the new palette actually still in stores, or that Dior would have themselves announced that they're coming. So I'm a bit curious that they haven't been releasing a new one of these backstage palette in a while, but interesting to see that if we are gonna see a new one during the fall time. Then let's get to the Natasha Denona ones. We have quite of a few ones here. So this is the I Need a Nude palette. This is a very sort of YouTube classic, I think, at this point. A very beautiful cool tone palette, especially for someone like me who has a cool rosy skin undertone. Something I will say, I do kind of feel that the mattes in this one are a bit limiting, but I do still think in terms of formula, this is, I think, one of the best formulas Natasha Denona has to this date produced. Then I think her newest palette yet, so this is the Bloom eyeshadow palette, so this was released during springtime. I really don't know why she didn't do the same formulas that she did in the I Need a Nude palette, because this sort of was a throwback to some of her older midi palette formulas. This had more bit of a traditional shimmer formula where it's almost a bit more metallic rather than shimmery. The most impactful shimmer this has is this one Crisps, and this one which is called Equinox, but they still aren't as perhaps blinding as some of the shimmers in the I Need a Nude. So this was a bit of a disappointment in terms of formula, but I still do want to keep this one around, so this is also staying. Then this one, so this is the I Need a Warm palette. I do think in terms of mattes, I actually like this more than the I Need a Nude one. But it's not actually that warm tone palette, so if you like cover actually this half of the palette, you can see that it is not actually that warm tone. So I think it's the other side that it makes this kind of look warmer than it is. I am keeping still this one around. I do think the shimmer formula of this one again was more closer to the I Need a Nude compared to the Bloom palette, so I am keeping this one though, even though this isn't maybe a color, sort of neutral color story that I gravitate towards that often. Then the 2 palettes that I used usually together, so this is the original pastel palette. This really isn't like, it's not exactly Natasha Denona's best formula. In terms of pastel formulas, also not the best, but there is still something that I do like about this one. The shimmers in this one, I'm gonna be honest, quite lackluster. Clearly with this one it's obvious that it's the older ND formula, but I do want to keep this one around because I do actually like to use it with this one. So this is the only bigger Natasha Denona palette I own, so this is circa the logo palette. I managed to get this in a very good discount a few years ago when I was traveling. I think I was traveling to Sweden, and in Sweden and Stockholm they actually do have a Sephora, so this was on sale there and I grabbed it, and I do think the quality of this one is very good, but again the shimmers are quite on the lackluster side, even though they do look nice on the lids and the shades themselves do work out quite nicely. But this will still see the day, but I do think with this one and the pastel palette there's probably gonna be a time for them coming when I will be decluttering them, but so far I do still want to keep them around. Then let's get to the Huda Beauty ones. I should probably, this is gonna be a bit difficult one. So Rose Quartz, this is iconic. Apparently you are able to buy this again, so I did see someone in their sort of spring eyeshadow palette ranking mentioned that Huda has brought this back. This was discontinued previously, but you are supposedly able to get this again. I would still recommend this one. I actually did use this again in the beginning of this year. This is still good to go, even though mine is definitely getting a bit older, but I do still adore this color story. It's a beautiful, cool toned, mauvish leaning color story, and again something that suits my specific skin undertone very well. Not going anywhere. But I do think it's time to say goodbye for this one. So this is the Naughty palette, and this is one of the oldest, I think this is the oldest Huda palette I have. I don't gravitate towards this one that much, even though this is the kind of color story where you would think that I would like a lot, because it's quite of this pink warm tone linen palette, and it even has some burgundies. But I do think that just from the palettes that I have from Huda, I think it is time to let this one go, purely because it's getting quite old at this point. Then the newest of Huda palettes, so this is the Icy Nude. Apparently this is the last palette that she has said that she will for now launch. I don't believe that for a second. The minute the big palettes are back in trend, I do believe she's gonna start launching big palettes. But I think it will mean that, for example, during this Christmas, because usually Christmas time has been the time Huda has been launching her big palettes, I think this Christmas we probably won't be seeing another one of these big ones. I wasn't super happy with the formulas of this one. I think this is one of those palettes that I will have to put in my rotation one more time to see that do I still think that it's a bit on the meh side, or do I want to keep it. There are some interesting color combinations in this one, but just the fact that the shimmer formulas in this one were kind of, I think, they didn't feel as up-to-date that you would expect with a high-end palette like this one, and also with the mattes there was quite a bit of repetition in terms of some of the shades looking a bit similar once you got them to your eyes. But I think this is a palette that I will try one more time and then see what I want to do with it. So then my Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, this is the Spice Mini palette. This was from their holiday collection last year. Beautiful formula. This was the best formula that ABH has, I think, so far released, and I'm kind of curious because I think it was leaked that there was a 9-pan that was supposed to be coming, but then I at least yet haven't seen it in any sort of makeup stores. I even think I saw that my Trend Mood might have gotten the 9-pan in PR, and I think she showed it on her Instagram, but then all of a sudden all the talk about this palette stopped, and that's why I don't think we have seen no new launches from ABH, but I would hope that we will see more 9-pans in this particular formula, or maybe even some of her bigger palettes, because I do think this was a very, very good formula. Then this one, so this is the Fall Romance. This is the only bigger palette that I have from ABH. With this one, you can definitely feel that the formula is different compared to the Spice palette. Obviously, this is like a couple of years old now. I do actually like using this for the fall time. The mattes are definitely a bit on the drier side and they need a bit more work. And the shimmers, they are sparkly, but they're not as sparkly as in the Spice palette. But I do want to keep this around because I do actually kind of like the scrungy color story that it has going for it. Then let's get to NARS. So this is one of the, has the reflective packaging, and this is the Irresistible Afterglow. What was this called? Afterglow Irresistible. So this is again something I got from my summer trip from Dublin last year, my first NARS palette. NARS has quite a good eyeshadow quality. This was a bit maybe monotone, and I would have maybe wished for a couple of more matte shades for this one, but I do still think as a warm tone palette this is quite nice quality, and I do want to still keep this around. Then the Tarte Big Ego palette. So I do know this is something that got pretty hit and miss reviews. I have actually liked using this one. I do kind of like the combination of cool tone and warm tone shades we get with this one. Not all of these formulas are hit. I definitely can understand why some people haven't been liking this one, but I still want to keep this around because I do think it's pretty versatile, so this is still, will make it this declutter also. Then this one, this is from Danessa Myricks. This was the Groundwork Blooming Romance palette, so this was I think the second Groundwork palette she did. This is kind of a multi-use palette. You can use this on your eyes and cheeks, however I think I should maybe move this to my face palette drawer because this is something that I would majority use on my cheeks. I did try to use this on my eyes too, but I did feel that for eye use this kind of lacked depth, because aside from this one and then these two shades, a lot of these shades when you try to layer them ended up looking quite similar on the eyes. But this is staying around because I do like the shades that still has. The last of the sort of high-end palettes, and this has the super reflective packaging, so this is the Byredo Remembrance palette, and this I think was one of their more popular ones. I do like this one for the fact that it has this sort of very traditional luxury formula in the best kind of ways. This definitely isn't for those of you who are looking for very pigmented shades on the go, but I do like this one. The shimmers also are kind of more satiny leaning, but I do think the combination of colors in this one is very beautiful, and I do like using this one, so this is definitely staying. So let's start going through the drugstore ones. So this is a W7 Influence palette. This is actually the only W7 palette that I actually have in my collection because their eyeshadow quality is just very hit and miss. W7 is one of those brands that I would really like to find good eyeshadows from because it's, for example, quite easily accessible for me in terms of drugstore makeup, but let's just say that it's been a bit frustrating because a lot of it has not been good. This one I have, you can see that it's been definitely quite well used in terms of like considering how many palettes I have, but I do think that I am gonna be letting this one go purely because it is starting to get a bit older, and also I've noticed that maybe not all the formulas, especially with the mattes, maybe isn't performing as it used to be. But I think if you're eyeing W7 palettes, these sort of bigger ones, not all of these has been great, but I would maybe look into these because these still seem to have like the better quality compared to some of their other palettes that they have. Then let's get to the sort of MUA palette. So this is one of the, I think, better brands in terms of drugstore eyeshadow. So this is the Blush Nudes. This is not going anywhere. This is my one of my favorite sort of drugstore palettes, even though the packaging is very flimsy and it doesn't look anything special. But this one truly had a very good formula, and I have ranked this highly in terms of my drugstore palettes that I have in my collection. Then the Desert Bloom palette, this was a smaller palette. This also ranked relatively high with my eyeshadow ranking last year in terms of drugstore palettes. This is not going anywhere. This is also very beautiful quality. And then the Stardust palette. I still haven't reviewed this on my channel, so yeah, we're gonna be putting this back to the drawer, and I have to get this in my rotation so I can kind of give a review how I feel about this one compared to the other palettes that I have from MUA. Then Makeup Revolution. So Makeup Revolution has been redoing their makeup line for the last couple of years, and these icon palettes are definitely something that I would say that if you're looking for eyeshadow, then please buy these ones because these definitely have the best formula that they seem to produce. This especially is something that I would like recommend. So this is the True Icon palette, and if we ignore the cream shades that will cause your eyeshadow to crease, and I would try to avoid just using them all together, but if we ignore the cream shades, the shimmers and the mattes in this one are very beautiful. This is the kind of quality that I think most of us were thinking that could Makeup Revolution try to produce something like this at a drugstore prices, and with this one they truly succeeded. So this is something that I would definitely recommend if you're balling on a budget. Then two of the newest Morphe eyeshadow palettes. So I did end up decluttering the bigger one that I got because I didn't feel that was worth it, but the smaller ones, this is the Outer Spice, so these ones did get to stick. I do say these are pretty decent for drugstore, but maybe not something still that I would say that you must get. And then this is the Rich Glitch, which is the sort of cool toned variation. So these still get to stay because they are relatively new in my collection. And from e.l.f, so I did get this one. This is the dupe for the Makeup by Mario. I believe this is called the Keep It Ethereal palette. I'm actually gonna declutter this, not because this is a bad quality. I would actually say that if you're eyeing this from e.l.f, this is pretty decent. The shimmers weren't my favorite. Some of them in this one are pretty hard panned and hard to pick up, but I do think in terms of drugstore, if this is available to you and you like this color story, this is quite good. But I do have a sort of neutral matte small eyeshadow palette coming that I want to keep in my collection instead of this one, and I do think they're quite similar, so this is getting decluttered. Then the Catrice Cocoa palette. This was actually a recommendation in terms of neutral eyeshadow palettes that I just recently did a updated favorite video. This is actually one of the better quality. Catrice's eyeshadows have also been pretty hit and miss, but if you have been looking for good eyeshadow from Catrice, I would actually get this one. This was so far the best. The shimmers are not the most sparkliest in this one, they are more satin-like, but in terms of the formula altogether, this is very good for the European drugstore. Then the neutral palette that I was referring to when I talk about the e.l.f, so this was the Dasique 9 pan. I think this is in the shade 01 Sugar Brownie. So Dasique has quite a lot of these. I was very impressed with the quality of this one. If you can get this, and if you're just eyeing for good basic 9 pan neutral eyeshadow palette, I would definitely recommend this one. Very beautiful. Then I have two of the Rom&nd palettes. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna be decluttering this one. So this is the Pampas 01 Pampas Garden. This is just a bit too orangey for my preferences. I actually think in terms of formulas, it has a couple of adhesive glitters, but altogether this is a wonderful quality for sort of K-beauty products, but this is just too orangey for my taste, so this is getting decluttered. However, this is staying, so this is the, what was this one called? 07 Berry Fuchsia Garden. So this one again has one of the adhesive glitter shades, but altogether formula is beautiful. I actually think you got good diversity with this one, considering that it's a smaller palette, and if you kind of like this color story and you want to get this, I would at least recommend it. So then next one we're heading to Kiko. So this is one of their 9 pans. I think this was the... Okay, and the shadow... This is what I don't like about Kiko. So we have had the shade number, it has rubbed off, and this is a very common issue that I have with my Kiko products, but this was the more orangey leaning one, but I do think I'm gonna be decluttering this one. I'm not reaching for it, and also one of the shimmer shade, it has basically exploded, and it makes using this one messy, so this is getting decluttered. Then something that was much better from Kiko, so this was from their holiday collection 2 years ago, this was from the holiday premiere line, and this I think did have a very nice eyeshadow quality to it. It has a pretty good gradient from light to deep shades. The shimmers in this one also very beautiful. They were very smooth but still very sparkly, and I do want to keep this one around, even though it is a bit bulky. Then the last of the drugstore ones here, I think, because next we're only going to be having indie ones. So this is the BeautyBay Rich Palette in the 16 pan variation. I think I'm gonna declutter this one. I just haven't been reaching for it. Even though I do think I might actually use this now more, since I don't have the Huda Beauty Naughty palette, but I'm just not reaching for this one. So I am decluttering it. But if you are eyeing this particular color story, I do think it's a pretty... BeautyBay does offer a good quality for drugstore, so I would still recommend getting this one if you like it, but I'm just not using this one, so it is getting let go. Earthy palette, so this is one of the very huge 42 pan variations. I'm not letting this one go. I actually do almost every autumn dig this one out, and I do like the fact that it has the greens, but we also get some mustardy colors, some reddish tones in the bottom of this one, so this is staying. And the berries palette, this is also huge. You could do with the 16 pan variation of this one, so if you like pinks, you can get the 16 pan version. I love pink, so that is the only reason I got this bigger one. This also has a couple of different formulas in terms of the shimmers. This has some sparklier ones and some more satin ones, but overall for me this is my sort of ultimate favorite pink palette, so this is staying, but you definitely don't need this big of a palette from them. You can definitely get the smaller version. We actually did have one more sort of a drugstore-ish, so this is from Moira. This is a Moment With You palette. This is a bit of an older palette. I do think the quality that Moira offers is very good, for especially for the sort of price range they are in. They are sort of like more mid-range priced brand, but I do think formula of this one is wonderful. However, I haven't been reaching for this one since I reviewed this, so I think it's an indication that I'm just not using it, so this can also be let go. And then let's move to the big one, which are all my indie eyeshadow palettes, which is most of my eyeshadow collection. So this is from Unearthly. This is the High Temp palette. This was their summer palette from last year. Very beautiful palette. I was very impressed with the quality of this one. This is definitely staying. And then we have this one. So this is the... Which was this called? What was this one called? Dreamer. Yeah, it reads in the font was a bit strange, so I wasn't able to spot it where it read. So this is a very beautiful cool toned palette. I would, again, this is, I do think the High Temp palette is just like even better quality than this one, but this is also very beautiful quality, especially if you're eyeing a cool toned option from them. So I would also, if you're able to still get this one, another recommendation. So Gourmande Girl is next, and from them we have been having some hit and miss in terms of quality. So this is the Warriors Were Pink. This was their collaboration palette with Syria. So I do think with this one I was pretty positively surprised about the quality of this one, and this one I'm actually keeping from them because I actually did have this on my rotation during springtime again, and the quality was still good, so this gets to stay. However, I am going to be decluttering this one, so this is the Peach Perfect palette, and I don't know, I think they might have changed how they do their formula from the Serious Auto palette to this one, so I had especially the lighter shades, and this has quite a few of them in it, so with them I felt that they were quite hard pressed and you needed to do quite a lot of building with them. This shimmer here was a dot. It was very texturizing and it looked quite dry on my lid, so overall together, even though I do kind of like this sort of how should I say, minty green color story combined with some of these peaches, but the quality of this one just, it wasn't it for me, so that is the reason why this is getting let go. So let's next then move to the Adept. So this is the Unity palette, and this is definitely not going anywhere. I have been using this during this spring. I still do think it's beautiful, even though these are quite basic shimmers. The matte quality, they definitely did improve from the palette we're seeing after this one, but overall a very beautiful, I'd say more of a muted colorful palette if that is something you are looking into. Then the Sumerian Sunset palette, and with this one, the shimmers, this has one of the most beautiful shimmers that I have, at least in my sort of big eyeshadow palette collection. However, the mattes in this one were very bad. Like this is definitely a palette that I need to dig out other palettes to use together, because I'm a person who I don't like doing just shimmer looks. So in terms of shimmers, worth every euro, but the mattes unfortunately in this one did leave a lot to be desired for. However, I was quite happy when I got the Unit palette that they had improved them at least a little bit to make the mattes usable, because in this one, very difficult to use, and some of them were like this one and this one, for example, these didn't even show up, and I have fair skin, so I don't even know someone who has a deeper skin tone than I do how they were able to use these two, because at least for me these didn't show up. Then a UK-based indie brand, so this is from Kaima Cosmetics. This is the Bougie Boudoir palette. I do have the newest palette from them, but that is still on my to-try pile, so obviously I should have maybe mentioned this in the beginning. Any palettes that I haven't yet tested out properly, those are obviously not going to be included in this declutter. So this is the, as I said, Bougie Boudoir palette, beautiful. I do think they did improve the shimmer quality compared to the Skulls and Roses, which I did have to declutter because that had some shimmers that were quite difficult for me to work with. Also the matte quality in this one, the matte quality still isn't what I would say my favorite. It's a bit drier and it kind of needs more work, but I do still think this was an improvement from the Skulls and Roses palette that I tried from them first time, so this is definitely staying in my collection. Then I think a palette that I will be decluttering, so this is the Davini palette, so this is from Davini Beauty. And unfortunately, again, with the deeper shades in this one, I kind of did have to work a bit more than I would have liked to, and this also wasn't what I would say one of the more cheaper indie brands, so I did actually get this on sale on Mono Shop, so granted I didn't pay full price for this one, but just overall, this kind of missed the mark for me. And also I do have a Glamlight palette, which I found that I could get quite similar looks than this one, and I do like the Glamlight palette more than this one, so that is the reason why we are getting rid of this one. So this is from Clarity Cosmetics. This was actually the first palette I tried from them. This is the Ensley Reign palette. It's one of the very big, one of the like bigger palettes I have in my collection. I actually did like the quality of this one. I was very positively surprised at how well the matte performed. Also the shimmers were beautiful. Only dot shade was this one. This was like a shimmery mess when you try to use it, but otherwise very nice quality. If you've been eyeing this one, Clarity, I would actually recommend getting this one. Then from Lethal, this is actually just a self-made palette, so you can they have this palette maker on their website, so you can get these shades individually and put them into a palette. I am keeping this around. I actually do think for a European indie brand, Lethal is something that I would recommend trying. They are, I think, German based. So then this one, so this is the Dead Roses palette by Bella Beauty Bar. This was actually the first Bella Beauty palette that I have tried. How should I say this? There are things that I like about this one and things that I didn't like about this one. In terms of the like overall color story, could I do the same with the BeautyBay 42 pan palette? Most likely yes, even though the BeautyBay of course is missing the special shades. The special shades in this one are definitely more impactful, however, they are also quite emollient and some of them do crease on me, so I am not 100% sold on the fact that this, because this is one of the more like expensive indie brands that are in the market, and their palette prices vary from from 60 all the way to 90 euros depending on the size of the palette and the shades that the palette have, but I am not exactly convinced that I would still want to get another Bella Beauty bar palette for the prices they are charging. Maybe if it's a color story that I absolutely love, but this kind of left me thinking meh. Like, I do obviously like the color story because it's pretty pink leaning, but it's also not something that I think that you absolutely need if you have a lot of other indie brands in your collection, but I am still keeping this one. My first Nomad palette, so this is the Fairy Tale Castle Europe, and I have to say this was quite of a good first try from the brand. I still do think that I would have needed the more colorful mattes for this to be my absolute favorite ever palette. However, I do have to say the mattes very soft blendable. Because they are so blendable with the deeper ones, you do have to layer them a bit more. The shimmers were stunning in this one, and this is a palette that I definitely would like to give another try in my rotation, because I do still feel that I sort of wanted to do even more with this one. So yeah, this is a palette that made me think that I want to try more palettes from this particular brand, because they're also, I think, quite decently priced for an indie brand, and actually they are one of the few indie brands that have their own warehouses in Europe. So if you live in Europe and order straight from their website, you're not going to be hit with additional sort of import fees, because they have all the fees in the prices already. Then let's next get to Glam Shop, which is a Polish indie brand, and I do think we're going to be decluttering a few things because some of these are getting quite old. So unfortunately, I do think it's time to let go of these two. So this is basically their what was this? Totally matte series. So within the series they have this one, so this is an all matte palette. They actually still do have this in stock. I have to say, from Glam Shop, this is one of the best quality that they have produced. This is a very beautiful sort of neutral matte palette. I have always said that I especially like the undertones that this has, but this is just getting old at this point, and I do have actually a newer neutral palette in my collection, so that is the reason why this is getting decluttered. Similarly, this is the shimmer palette, beautiful shimmers. Unfortunately, the shimmer palette was something that they did discontinue, so I can't get this one anymore. But similarly as the matte palette, because I did buy these together and these launched on the same time, this is just old at this point, so it's time to let this one go. Same story with the Pakusa. This was their spring palette, and it's been quite some time when this was launched. Beautiful color story. This has their sort of older, bit chunkier shimmer formula. And while I do think overall this was a very nice spring release, their formula has developed since, and again this is on the older side, so that is the reason why it's time to let this one also go. So then the neutral palette I was referring to, so this is the Creme de la Creme palette, so this was their holiday palette from last year. Very smooth shimmer shades, not the sparkliest one, but overall this just has the newest updated formula from the brand, so that is the obvious reason why this is staying. And similarly, I think this was their best release from last year, so this was the C Violet palette, and this was a very beautiful overall the packaging design, 10 out of 10, and the color combination. So this was, I would say, a purple palette that is for those of you who also like your neutral shades, because with this one you did get the purples, but you also had the neutrals. This also has an updated shimmer formula from them. It's much smoother. This has sparklier shimmers than the Creme de la Creme palette, but they are still very smooth to use, and they don't emphasize textures as much as some of their like older shimmers that they have in their older palettes. But this is definitely not going anywhere. Next one, so Gloss Gods, so this is the Molten Metals palette. So they last Christmas sort of tried out this sort of newer, I think it's a 10 pan format. They have now launched some more palettes in the similar style. This is these are probably the most impactful neutral metallics that I have in my collection, and this formula is probably not for everyone because the metallics are so effective, and perhaps I think a bit on the emollient side, so I think with some crease types this might emphasize textures and even crease on you, but I do want to keep this around because I do think the formula of this one is pretty awesome. Then this one, so this is the Color of the Rain. This is an all shimmer palette that has sort of blue tones in it. Very beautiful formula. This is not going anywhere. Mine was broken in the transit, so that is why mine is looking pretty messy, but this is something that you can still get on their website, so I would actually recommend this one if you like your blue duochromes. Then the Lavender Skies, so we are showing this one. This is something that has both matte and shimmer shades in it. Very nice, I would say, lavender palette. It is quite a bit on the monotone side, so you aren't gonna get super many different kind of looks, but still the shimmers of this one are beautiful. Just like with the previous one, this was broken in transit because these were the Dancing in the Rain and this one were launched together, and unfortunately they had some issues in the warehouse where the warehouse didn't package these properly, why a lot of people got theirs broken. But I managed to press mine and the customer service did refund my order, so I was just happy to have my palette, and still, even though I had to repress it, the shade had been working just well, but this is not also going anywhere. Then something that they actually brought back, so this is the Vintage Glam, and a lot of people had been asking to bring this one back. Mine is the older one because I got this one, it was originally launched. This is one of my sort of favorite neutral palettes with a sort of pinkish lavender twist to it. Very beautiful, love the shimmers, love the sort of matte shades that have been chosen for this one. This is definitely not going anywhere. Then let's get to the Glaminatrix. So I think we can now let this one go. So I adore the color story of Rich Romantic. This is definitely quite close to a palette that I would have to say that what is sort of my go-to color story. This sort of ticks all the box. However, I had the issue with this one that the shimmers creased so badly that at the end of the day I almost didn't have any more shimmer on my lids because it sort of creased away, which I have had this issue with very few formulas, and with this one I was kind of baffled about it because this was a more expensive indie brand to get, but anyway. It's time to let this one go. I'm just not gravitating towards this one because I do know that I do have to baby the formula quite a bit in order to make this work for me. And luckily we now actually have a Glaminatrix palette that does work out. So this is the Nearly Natural. So they relaunched this one. They brought this out originally a couple of years ago and then they discontinued it and they revamped it. And this has a shimmer formula that doesn't crease. It's very smooth. It lasts through all day. And altogether, I would say that in terms of neutral color stories, this is one of my sort of favorites that I currently have in my collection. Ensley Reign. So I have bought a new Ensley Reign palette, however, again, that has not been reviewed yet on my channel, so we're not talking about it yet in this declutter. So this is the Harvest Moon. This was the first one I got from the brand. I have always advised with these palettes that buy the ones that you think that you like the color story the most. You definitely don't need to get all of these. Ensley Reign is a very expensive indie brand to buy. So with these ones I would definitely say pick and choose the ones that you like, but don't get them all. This is very beautiful end of the fall color story. The formula definitely is very high quality, but just don't spend all of your money on them. Then this one, Cold Moon. This is the one that I think sort of how should I say, took the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz from my sort of all-time favorite cool tone palette list and list #1 spot, and I think you can kind of see the reason. This is like the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz with steroids, so this basically has the sort of like mauvish pinkish cool tone shades, but they have these special shades in this one, and this I think also has a bit better in terms of depth when you compare this to the Rose Quartz. And overall together, well, obviously this is also more expensive than the Rose Quartz was when I got it, so there is also that to consider. But for me, I think this is one of like, I would say maybe that this is like the #1 palette that I have in my collection in terms of just the color story and the color combination that this palette has, but this is not going anywhere. So, Blend Bunny, this is the Longing palette. This was their, I think this was their, was this their spring release or fall release last year? No, because I have been trying this out maybe during summertime, so maybe this was actually a spring release. Not going anywhere. Definitely the high point of this one are the shimmers. This is the first Blend Bunny palette that I tried that had their sort of upgraded shimmer formula. I haven't been buying Blend Bunny palettes since this one, so this is actually the most recent one that I have in my collection from them, but this is not going anywhere. The only minus points that I gave for this one is that this goes very deep very quickly, even though it kind of looks that it has some more fairer shades. But beautiful quality from the Blend Bunny as always, and this is not going anywhere. Dollhouse, this is an all-time favorite. Something that I would think I will still say to this date is one of my sort of favorite of Blend Bunny palettes. Beautiful. The shimmer formula of this one is the older formula, so it's not as blinding, but I just overall think that just the quality of this one was something that when I tried it I was thinking that, oh, now I know what other people are talking about when they say that Blend Bunny has the sort of ultimate, especially matte quality. I don't think you're able to get this anymore, but I think the owner was teasing on their social media that they might be working on something maybe similar or like a more revamped or updated version of something similar to this one, but I will still hold on from this one because this is true favorite. Then another sort of, I'd say my ultimate perfect pastel palette is this one, Sickly Sweet. I got this from a Christmas present as my brother. He's been very good in terms of choosing my sort of eyeshadow palettes for Christmas present as of lately, so we will give him some credit. But anyway, this one, beautiful, has especially these neon pastels that are notoriously hard to formulate, but this one, they did it right. You need very little building with these when they show up. The shimmer formula is very beautiful, although I have given this critique that the shimmers kind of, because they don't have that much of a base to them, they kind of tend to end up looking what you have underneath with them. So the shimmers are maybe the only thing that I'm not such a big fan of in this one, but it's a very small gripe considering how much I adore this one in terms of being a pastel palette. So we're next gonna go through Oden's Eye, and I should probably declutter some because as in the moment I'm filming this, I just spotted on the previous day that they're gonna be coming out with a summer collection. I was already wondering, are they gonna be coming out with a summer collection, because they were, I think, one of the few brands that hadn't announced a summer makeup collection. And they're gonna come out with a summer collection that has 4 new eyeshadow palettes. They're basically bringing their Alva collection back, which is a collection that I, for example, like. Their sort of pinkish leaning neutral palette that they had, but now they sort of just brought 4 new palettes. So I'm probably going to be shopping the particular launch, so I should probably get rid of something, but I don't think I'm in the mood to get rid of something, but that just shows how much I like this brand. But anyway, let's go through with the ones that I have. So this is the Jules and Gem palette. This is, I think, one of the more neutral leaning palettes that they have. I think even in the new Alva collection, they still don't have the a true neutral palette. They are still like colorful color stories, some more muted and some more colorful. And I really wish, because I do think Oden's Eye would do a great neutral palette with a twist. So we're kind of still waiting that to happen. But so far, I think this is still the most neutral thing that I have from them, and I think what they have overall launched. So this is staying. I do like this because this is another beautiful cool tones color story. Rosy Jingle. I have been eyeing that the Alva Spring palette seems to be quite similar to this one, so I'm kind of now have to consider that I'm not gonna buy everything in the new summer collection, definitely. So I'm not gonna buy all the 4 new eyeshadow palettes, but I did saw already a comparison that one of the palettes in the collection are quite a bit similar to this one. So this was from their Christmas collection last year. When I saw this, I immediately thought that that's not a Christmas palette, that's a Easter palette. And I did actually used it during the springtime, which I felt it was more appropriate to. A beautiful palette, only dot shade is this one. This, I don't know what they were thinking. It doesn't pick out with a brush, it doesn't pick out with a finger. It's just very hard to work with. I think it's supposed to be some kind of cream powder formula, but this one definitely wasn't a hit in terms of formulas. But other colors, beautiful. You don't get a lot of depth with this one, but for spring and summertime, very nice color story. Then the original Angelica Nyqvist and Hella palette. I actually did a midsummer themed look with this one recently. I still think this is my sort of all-time favorite Oden's Eye palette. Not only because it's with a person that I like to follow on YouTube, but also just generally because of the color story. Unfortunately, this one is discontinued. You can't get it anymore, and it's understandable because Angie or Angelica Nyqvist here on YouTube, she has her own makeup line now, so it's obvious that she probably isn't doing any more collaborations with other makeup companies. Silver Bells. So this was the second holiday palette from last Christmas. This was much more Christmas-esque. So this is kind of, I think, a gothic Christmas would be a good description for this one. I really have to get this in my rotation for a second time because I did generally like this one also. They definitely did nail it in terms of quality. Honestly, I have been having recently the issue that they have seemed to be having patch issues. So some people are saying that the quality in their palettes isn't the same as in some of their other palettes, and then some people are saying that the new palettes are also fine. So I did have this issue with the Christmas palettes 2 years ago, which I ended up decluttering because the quality of those was just horrible. I don't know what happened. Then the OG Christmas palettes that I think are the best quality they have produced. So this is the Christmas Eve palette. Unfortunately, you can't get this anymore. I got this one at original launch, so I also have the original quality that they manufactured this in. Still works beautifully. Another cool tone favorite from them, and this is just beautiful. Similarly, Merry Christmas also not going anywhere. This is more brighter of the Christmas palettes from 3 years ago. This still also works fine. So I'm not letting either of these go until they are basically moldy or when the shadows don't work out, but still work out, so this is staying. Then the second palette from Angelica's and Oden's Eye collaboration. So 2 years ago they did a Halloween collaboration, so this is the Little Ghost palette, and This is actually currently in my rotation, so I would get some use out of it again. So far I haven't been able to use it because I currently have 3 new P.Louise palettes that I'm trying to do the demo looks for, so this has been sort of in my rotation, but I haven't been able to find time to use it, but I will try to make some time to use this one also, because this has been, I think, one of the few palettes where I've been kind of thinking that should I declutter this one, but that is not happening yet, at least, so we are not decluttering it now, but we shall see that maybe in the holiday declutter that how I will feel about it then. We did discuss P.Louise, so I am currently trying 3 new P.Louise palettes, which should indicate that I don't think we're getting rid of anything, because I do think one of the new palettes is actually something that I'm gonna be end up decluttering, but we shall see. So this is the one of the mini holiday palettes from last holiday, so this is the On The Pull eyeshadow palette. So I do think the quality of this one was fabulous. Like, I do think that P.Louise in their newer palettes has definitely been doing some upgrading, especially with their shimmer formulas. I would have maybe wished some variation with the mattes, because, for example, these 2 mattes are pretty identical when you use them on your lids, and similarly these 2 shimmers can be a bit samey, but overall the shimmer quality in this one, their matte quality has always been pretty decent, but the shimmer quality is especially beautiful, and I do think I'm still keeping this one around. Then this one, so this is the big book of a palette. So basically this is one of their like face palettes where they have a layer of highlighters. Then we have the cream bronzers. This is the layer I'm most concerned about, because these creams will expire at some point, and I don't know what are we gonna do then, because I don't want to have an expired makeup section in my makeup sort of palette, so we shall have to see what happens then. Then we have matte blushes. And then I think there's the mirror, and let's see how I'm gonna be actually showing this. So this is the eyeshadow palette. So this is a pink eyeshadow story. Again, I was quite impressed with the shadow quality of this one compared to some of the other palettes that I've tried from them. So even though this is bulky as F, I'm still gonna be keeping this one, because overall I do think like the quality, the quality of the products that are in this one is actually pretty good. Like, if you are especially shopping for a teenager looking for their like first makeup sort of set that has it all, I would actually like, this necessarily isn't a bad option, because you kind of get everything with a sort of €50 price point. It's just that it is a bit inconvenient to store, because you can see it's very hefty. Then something from their budget box a couple of Christmases ago. So this is the If Looks Could Chill palette. So this is basically their all blue palette. So we have one layer here, and then we have the drawer over here. Again, this is very, very clunky to store. However, this is actually the only like all blue palette that I have in my collection, and for that reason it is very convenient to have, and it is still staying even though it's a very horrible package to store. Next we're going through Glamlight, and I do have to say I've been collecting some more Glamlight, which has been a bit unintentional. So this is the Glamlight X Wonka palette. So this was their collaboration palette from, I think it was during this year. So this was the palette I was referring to when I discussed the Davini Beauty palette. So there were quite many similar looks that I could actually get across when I compared the looks that I had done with the 2 palettes, and I actually do like the quality of this one, so this is staying. Betty Boop palette, in terms of quality, one of the best Glamlights ever done. This is a beautiful sort of neutral mauvish palette that has a bit of pops of red. The background will make it look more red than it actually is when you use it. But one of the better shimmer formulas, like definitely like all the Glamlight palettes that I have had except for one that I'm going to be showing soon, has had a very beautiful sparkle shimmer formula. This one has just something a bit extra to it, and I do overall like this one as a color story, so it's staying. So this is the Chucky palette, and actually I'm going to declutter this one. This actually has a very, very good quality, and this actually impressed me quite a lot, because this was the first Glamlight palette I actually tried out. However, the shimmer formula that I have tried out since in their other palettes after this one have been even better than this one. The shimmers in this one are quite muted, some of them are a bit on the satiny side, and also as a color story, it's a very deep color story that I don't use a lot, so I think I can let this one go. Then this one, so this is the Garfield palette. Actually, if you're looking for a good warm toned palette that has very beautiful shimmers, I would actually get this one. You can get it on sale. This has been actually on sale for a couple of times, and considering especially the sales price of this one, and if you're looking for a good warm tone palette with beautiful shimmers, I would actually like to look into this one. It is very nice palette. Then this one, so this is the Breaking Dawn palette from their Twilight collection, so this was the Jacob version. In terms of shimmers, like I already said, they do a very good shimmer formula for their price point, but this one had they somehow elevated even more, which is very confusing because there was nothing to complain about in the shimmer formulas that I had tried before this one. This is staying. I'm gonna be loving this when we get to the fall seasons. For the current season, this is a bit too like grungy for me, but overall very beautiful if you're looking for more of a neutral palette from them, which I do know a lot of people have been asking because they did do quite a lot of more colorful palettes before this one, but if you're looking for more of a true neutral palette, this would actually be a good option. And we are getting to the end, so we're leaving the best to last, which is Cosmic Beauty. I think Cosmic Beauty has sort of, because I think from all the indie brands, I think Odin's Eye did hold quite a long time the sort of favorite indie brand sort of medal for me. However, because of some inconsistencies they've been having with their palette formulations, they have kind of fell off. Also, some of Odin's Eye color stories, they haven't been that appealing to me, but Cosmic Beauty, they seem to be doing very good things at a very good price point, so I think we can say that this is one of my, like, the sort of top indie brand that I currently, for me at least. So this is the Serenity palette, this is something that made them famous. I think I'm gonna let this one go. I'm just not using it. I have been really like trying to make effort to use it and fall in love with it, but because it's a majority blue palette, blue-green palette, and it has the sort of blue and green tones that I actually don't gravitate towards, I'm just gonna let this one go, even though it is like beautiful. Also, it's a majority matte palette, which is something Cosmic Beauty has actually done quite a lot. Only their most recent palettes have been more like 50-50 split, but this was a matte heavy palette also, so yeah. Even though I would like to keep this one for collection purpose, but I want to also sort of get rid of the mentality that even from my favorite brands, I have to have all the products. I don't need all the products if I'm not using them, so this is getting decluttered. So, Royal Rose. This was actually their first eyeshadow palette. A lot of people are always saying that Serenity was the worst one, but this is actually the first one they had. I think when I'm looking at the palettes that I have below this one, what I'm gonna do, this also has the older formula, it doesn't have as much shimmers. This is actually a dud in their shimmer shades, but I do like the color story a lot more. I think this one still gets to stay. We shall have to see, depending what they will be launching at the sort of second half of this year, what kind of color stories they will come. If they come out with something that seems to be a bit more like maybe updated to this one, then I might let this go when we get to Christmas time, but so far this gets to stay. This is not going anywhere. This is the Muse palette. This was my sort of neutral leaning palette from them until the palette we're going to be seeing later, but very beautiful still. If you like your earthy, grungy palettes with a neutral twist, this is very beautiful palette. It has the older shimmer formula, but I'm not too mad about it because I do just overall like this color story. This is beautiful. Delicious Delights, one of my favorite rainbow palettes, so aside from the Blend Bunny Sickly Sweet one, very beautiful, again, more matte heavy, but I do like the gradient this has, and this is a very beautiful, very good quality rainbow palette from Indie if you're looking for one. So then the only Cosmic Beauty palette that I wasn't a fan of, and which is such a shame because this is the newest one. So this is the Lovers palette, and I do have to be a bit careful with this one because one of the shades came broken. It was the dark green one. So, in terms of shimmer formulas, fabulous. This is the best quality in terms of shimmers the brand has ever come out with. These are beautiful, these are sparkly. You can definitely see the difference when you compare the shimmers of these ones to their older palettes. Unfortunately though, I had a bit of building issues with their mattes, and there's quite a lot of pastel-esque mattes in this one. And if you are gonna put pastel shades, especially this many in your palette, I expect them to work, especially from Cosmic Beauty that has a reputation. Because in Serenity, I didn't need to do... It had also a lot of pastel shades, and I didn't need to do a lot of building with them. But this one, I really needed to work quite hard. But I am gonna keep this because I do still like the color story and I do like the shimmers. But this is, for some reason, the matte quality of this one just wasn't it for me. But in terms of shimmers, absolutely beautiful. Would recommend for the shimmers. And then this one. So this is the Neutrals palette that I got from my brother last Christmas as a present, and this is absolutely delicious. This is a neutral palette that I have always said that inspires me endlessly, and when I look at this, I'm every time looking at that, oh god, I really wish I would have time to use it, which could be just that I need to be buying less makeup so I could get to use this one. Very beautiful. The shimmers in this one are sparklier than some of the older palettes, but not as sparkly in the Lovers palette. So if you buy the Lovers palette, the shimmers are still better than this one, but I don't mind it because overall as a color story and how these shades works, because with this one I didn't have any issues with the matte shades. So as a palette overall, this just works beautifully, and this is not going anywhere. This is definitely staying in my collection. So that was my declutter video. As per tradition, I will be popping an image to the screen so you're gonna see all the palettes that I did end up decluttering. And yeah, so as I said, unfortunately I'm not gonna be posting the cheek and lip product declutter video, which is such a shame because it took quite a while to film it, but I don't want to be posting something that I'm not happy with the quality. But just so you know, I have already decluttered my sort of cheek and lip products. So comment down below, have you done any decluttering to your makeup collection, or have you been decluttering through the year? I have been definitely better in terms of the fact that I have been also decluttering through the year, so I don't think in the future you might be seeing me decluttering as many products, because I try to do it after my review videos, that if there's something that I don't for some reason like, I will just end up throwing it away immediately, because there's no use keeping something in my collection that I'm not gonna use. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from our future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I'll see you in another video. Bye bye!